Okay, Guild Chat was on today, everyone. How you doing? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, because you're gonna like everything in this video. If you're an engineer player, if you're gonna comment, because you're gonna be like, whoa, this was amazing. I'm not gonna do a weird robot thing, because that would be weird. What else? Subscribe, yes. We're at 7,800-ish people. We're getting close to 8,000. The channel hasn't grown this much in the last 5 or 6 years because I haven't focused on YouTube at all. It's been mostly Twitch. I'm so excited. I'm kicking my microphone or punching it. I can't kick because that's the table. Two other things. Patreon also gets you advanced previews of videos most of the time, unless it's something I just want to pump out right away, because like in announcements, reactions, things like that, I want to always shove out as soon as possible. Builds mostly and other bits and bobs. They showed off engineer. We're going to talk about the traits. We're going to show off the elite specialization, the traits, the abilities, the mech. I'm going to talk about things. I've got the traits and stuff on another page. Someone screenshotted them. I'm going to be looking over here. I'm going to be looking here. And I'm going to be looking over there. We got loads of stuff going on. Turn this down. Play this. You're going to see the trailer first. We've done the reaction. If you want to see the reaction, that was already on the channel. The quality of the stream was a bit low for some reason.
They summon a customized Jade Tech.
We do auto. Yeah. Even auto was like weird. Source was 1080. It's weird. It is always, the quality is never like top notch. Sometimes these videos don't translate well when they're trying to show them off anyway on the guild chat and whatnot. But yeah, this is the trailer, and obviously like initial reactions, it looks bloody amazing. In terms of the actual mech and everything else, we're gonna go through it. This is the quick go through, and I will originally actually gonna listen to
release. We hope it was worth the wait. We're not going to
listen to what they're talking about in terms of the actual lore, because I haven't actually listened to this fully.
Absolutely. So
we're going to listen to this quick.
It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we've all seen the video. It's cool as heck. It's really neat. And one of the reasons I especially
she's awesome as well
is it kind of embodies the heart of modern Cantha. And I actually will keep this blurb pretty short and sweet to keep some secrets in our pocket still. Yeah. But the Mechanist, basically our lore behind this is that the engineer has crafted and built their very own Jade Tech battle mech, which is just the coolest thing. It functions very similarly to a ranger pet in that they aid you in battle. You get to name it yourself. There's I'll pass it to Cal in just a moment. You can customize like the skills that you have it use, so it feels very your own, and kind of the emotional bond between you and your mech is going to be a lot similar to like Timey and Scruffy is how I like to look at it. So really sweet, wholesome, but it's just the coolest thing, and it so really does, like, while a lot of our classes dive into the history of Cantha, this one really looks forward to, I mean, what's Cantha been up to for the last 200 years? I don't know.
We have so much to find out.
We have a lot to find out, but without further ado, just because we'll keep those secrets in our pocket, I will pass it to Cal to kind of talk about all the fun things that we can do with the mech.
Cal will keep no secrets.
Nope.
You know, maybe I'll keep a couple secrets. I gotta keep my advanced technology on the down low so I can, win in ranked, because otherwise I can't.
Oh no.
Okay. Cal is like a ninja. Actually kind of funny. Okay, so what they did was they have I'm going to talk whilst this is going on, whilst the footage is going on in the background, and I'm going to talk about the things. It's a bit difficult on how to talk about this. I am going to like be going to and from. I'm going to put the music up in the background. I'm not going to listen too much to what Cal's talking about. So right there, sorry, that must sound awful. So going through the skills, first of all, you do not have, I hate Twitch so much. When you pause something, it grays it out. It's annoying. I wish you could just have it up. Anyway, maybe we'll just have it as a really, really slow speed. Let's do that. There you go. So that it's always up. So basically, when you start out, you don't have your mech. So If you don't know, Engineer has got a mace as the weapon. They flipped the image to make it look like it was an offhand. It's actually main hand. And then they've got the offhand pistol. They could have had shield, or I think they went for full damage. You've got Signets as your utilities and everything else. These are the new thing for Engineer. And then you've got obviously what is above here is the Signet passives. And then here is the actual summon of your mech. And then you got the 1, 2, 3 skills of Mace, and you got blowtorch, and you got the immobilize there on the pistol, which are fairly standard things. So Crashdown is the summon. You summon your Jade Mech at the target area. Foes in the area are damaged. Listen to this. Recharge time of this skill is based on how damaged your mech is. Ah, that's interesting. The recharge time of this skill is based on how damaged your mech is. Is that when you say recharge time, you mean like cooldown, right? Okay, you can right click and name it as well. Just FYI, that's pretty cool. But we'll slow-mo watch most of these abilities going off. In terms of, let me see. Skills. Oh no, it didn't have any. It didn't have the actual skills of the mech itself. Oh wait. Yes, we do. You can see it coming down now. There's the heal. And cast time. It is actually quite a long cast, and that's the mace, and it points it out. Sorry, not the mace. It points out the left hand, which is the offhand, and that's the one that goes out. Interesting, actually. And it does a big knockback AoE. Love it. So it almost feels like, imagine like a little kind of supply crate popping out. I guess that's kind of cool. But let me have a look here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's the Signets utilities, Mace skills. Doesn't look like I've got the F abilities. I'll have to try and find it. F4 deactivate Mech. We've got that. So the activate is, as I've said, in the you can recall. So recall your mech for repairs. The cooldown of your crash down is increased by a percentage of your mech's depleted health. That's interesting. And also your Jade Tech Battle Mech has a break bar. And he stuns it for 5 seconds when the break bar is taken down. So just an FYI, this is something that they are trying out specifically. It's not like they think they're going to have it full on. But like they, Cal said, who's in the bottom left-hand corner, for now they're trying it and they're testing it. So we will see. I'm just trying to see if I can find out where the F1 and F3 abilities are, because I'm having problems trying to find that. Mace skill F4, utility signets, traits, mech commands. It's interesting. It doesn't look like it's actually on here. A shame. Oh well. I may have missed this somewhere. I think actually, maybe that's it. No, that's Signets. I've got everything on here other than the actual F1 to F2 and F3 abilities where your toolbar toolkit's going to be. So normally tool belt skills are going to be, basically all of your tool belt skills are taken away as well, which is, makes sense. And it's essentially a pet. So this is what the pet's stance or the pet UI area looks like for the Ranger now as well. Now we're not 100% sure if that's the same for Core Ranger as well, but it's going to be what it is front end, which is the elite specialization for Ranger. I should have planned that out a little bit better, so I do apologize, but we're doing it live. This is the way it is. I've got lots going on, as you know, as per usual. I will try and find out what those do, and I think we're going to go over it. I think he's actually gone over it as well. Let's have a look here. See if he does. We'll put it on normal speed. Boom. I love the way it walks around as well. Like, look at the little zoom in around. A little kind of backpack. Like, I'll do the sound effect for it. I can't do that. It tickles my mouth. Anyway, it looks cool, right? It's quite far away. I think that's just a thing at the moment. Maybe they'll fix that. I think they occasionally they have some issues. It looks like it's adjusting to where the mobs are, so it doesn't like stand over the top of them or something. I know they did make a joke about the game not being finished. It is October. I guess we've got 4 months. But as you can see, that third skill, the F3, Jade Mortar, Mech Command, launch a powerful mortar attack at a target. So Jade Mortar, I wonder if I can find that on here. And possibly I might be able to find it. I don't think it's on this bit. That's unfortunate. Not sure what they've written there. They've got all these things down and they haven't. Oh no, they have actually. That's a complete lie. They just don't have all the traits on there. Okay. Oh, Jade Mortar is the first one. Oh no, that is the traits. Anyway, just ignore me. It does look like that F2 might be discharge array. Let's see if he pauses it. No, it's changing on. It knows all of these classes so well. It's all very much like, so you change as you change the traits. Like with the traits, you program in like your settings for the mech, right? So it can be more like condition damage, it can be more support or like power damage or whatever. When we go through the traits, I will definitely like give you more of an idea of what that looks like, because I can't remember the traits off by heart right now until we go through them. I'm as, I haven't gotten a hold of this. I'm just seeing it now. Well, for the second time, obviously, but like we were just talking about a lot of these things. And not listening too much. So it was just reactions off abilities, seeing them flash in every so often. So yeah, basically that. It's very odd. The one thing I have thought about is the fact that this does feel very condition oriented, rather than just like power, I guess, which is interesting. But yeah, it's like eight stacks of bleeding. Is that through? That might be through the traits, I believe. I think so. We'll have to wait and see. Too sure about that actually. Rolling Smash. It says Mech Arms, Single Edge Cutters. Unlocks the Mech Command skill. Rolling Smash. Your mech's attacks apply bleeding. This effect may only affect a given target once per interval. Okay, it's quite a lot of bleeding. Let's see what he says actually here as well.
The top line of traits, which is a lot more condition damage focused. Starting off with Rolling Smash. So
there you
sense.
go.
Condi Mech, it's going to do bleeding and some damage in there as well. Next up, we're going to have Discharge Array. This is going to be more of a pulsing effect around the mech. That's going to do confusion, a little bit of slow, a little bit of damage. So again, more of that condition.
Again, like that is more of like making sure they don't do damage and doing damage to themselves, and as well as slow. So a little bit of kind of CC / damage mitigation, I guess, more than anything. And then the third one is going to apply burning. So you've got daze, you've got burning, you've got slow, you've got confusion, and you've got bleeding. So lots of conditions on there. No torment. An engineer is not really a torment in kind of class right now, of course. There's a lot of confusion though, which is interesting. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to press play and pause every time we go through these, and then pull out the doc I've got with all the traits on it that have been recorded by someone who is awesome. If you're this person, thank you very much. And do it that way. It's a lot easier.
Finally, we're going to have the Jade Mortar.
And then there's the return to me button there. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's like unsummon, although F4 maybe that.
This is a pretty long range skill, nice little...
That's the F3. Look at that burning tick as well. 3 targets. I don't think he's got a condition damage amulet on. We don't actually know, I don't think. I'm not sure he even said.
A ballistic projectile there. We see daze, burning, some good damage. Also an explosion. That's relevant. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
See, now I know, maybe. In terms of explosions, you thought about The explosives trait line in Guild Wars 2 for engineer, which has got explosive entrance, obviously, which helps with stunning, which helps with damage, which helps with what is it, flashbang? Yeah, there you go. Explosive entrance inflicts blindness when it hits, and additionally it dazes foes. So that's not massively. It doesn't really massively. It doesn't really. It's not a massive change, but there's something else there. Where is it? Big Boomer. Deal increased stride damage to foes with a lower health percentage than you. Hitting with an explosion heals you over a few seconds. So this is where I'm thinking some of the explosive traits from explosives are going to go really well with the mech. So start thinking about that. Come Tuesday, I'm going to do a build every day. All right? It doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if it's bad. It doesn't matter if it's mediocre. I'm just going to make a different build every day. Even if it's got some of the same trait lines, we change things around. PvP, open world, fun times, whatever, raiding, are going to have a build for you every day. Even if I'm not streaming every day, I will try and come up with something. I will be able to take time out of my day for half an hour or so, and we'll make a build. I will maybe stream it live, we'll see, or I will definitely just do a video, because that's when the beta is. I am excited. I will pull out the explosive trait line in a bit as well.
So there's kind of the Conti damage side of things. Bottom row traits here is going to be more power damage, a bit more crowd control as well. So instead F1, we're going to have access to Spark Revolver.
Okay, so this is what it's all about. The traits are pretty much changing your F1 to F3 abilities, as well as doing a few extra things. So you can see all of the abilities from here. Where are we at? 51, 59. Okay. They've all changed looks-wise, pretty much. 51, 59.
We're going to have access to Spark Revolver. And this is going
So Spark Revolver is... Oh man, I tell you what, the way this person's done this is a bit random. Spark Revolver, fire a rapid volley of Jade energy bolts. So you've essentially got 9 different skills, it looks like, you can use. Either that or the middle, I'm not sure. Yeah, no, explosive knuckle, crisis zone. Yeah, that makes sense. It's all about your F1 to F3. It's very interesting that it's solely focused on this mech mostly. There is some stuff about in terms of like Signets as well. We'll see how that goes. Let's keep listening for a sec.
long range, kind of channeled, almost like that kind of rapid fire.
That pierces as well. It feels a little bit like the Engineer's Hollowsmith pistol ability.
Fire style of attack. In this case, it's going to be piercing, some good damage. We saw vulnerability that's coming from the trait, which we'll talk about later. And then just,
So fire a rapid volley of jade bolts from both arms, piercing all enemies. I like that. Lots of damage. Range is 1,200, which is pretty good. So you could be attacking. You could actually be doing. So if you're thinking about PvP, I play PvP a lot. So you could have your mech out, and your mech could be off point, firing using long range damage. I think. I wish we had the ability to place it in places, but I'm wondering if it just stops when it's in range of something that shoots, or if it actually follows you, unless you make it do some kind of melee ability, maybe making it come to you, or if it needs to be in range of you. Interesting.
Solid long range damaging ability for the mech.
Charge up and then release a powerful ball of jade energy at your target that explodes on impact. Let's have a look.
Next up, we have Core Reactor Shot.
All long ranged.
Very deliberate, well-defined charge up into that nice energy ball that does a nice, some CC in there. Good damage.
Nice CC, yeah. It doesn't say. It does say launch actually, 240. So there is some CC there on 5 targets as well. Range CC, how often? Every 25 seconds, not bad. This bottom line is all about power damage and CC.
That's also an explosion.
And that was also explosion, you said, just to note that. Sky Circus, I love the name of this. Your mech jets into the air and fires a missile at each foe in an arc in front of it before crashing down and dealing additional damage to anything in the court underfoot.
Finally, we're going to have Sky Circus. This is coming from the Grandmaster trait here. And this is going to be kind of a two-part attack where the mech's going to jump into the air, fire some projectiles, and it's also going to come crashing down. And I was
It fired some projectiles over here, so I don't know.
close enough to my enemies, but it will come crashing down and kind of launch all of the nearby enemies in the radius.
It says evade as well, so the evade must be the evade for the mech itself. So it could use it if anyone's focusing damage on it, and use it maybe in raid fights and use that as like a way to evade a ton of damage potentially, because it's going to be interesting how that works. Because obviously it's got a ton of health. It's got 46,000 health there, and it does take on some of your passive stuff. So it can take on some of your toughness, takes on your other bits and bobs. I will literally. It's just all stats inherited by the mech is 25% of your stats. So just FYI, peeps. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Again, I might be flaking on this a little bit. We'll listen.
So potentially, multiple crowd control skills here, some good power damage as well. A solid option for the mech. Then finally, along the middle here, we're going to see more of that kind of more support style of.
And then the middle trait line is, like you said, it's the supportive. So here you've got like Condi, support, and then focus damage with like some CC and vulnerability. I don't know if this is exciting, but like, you know, versatility of traits are making it easier for people to understand, but they're very much going for this line of like, you play support, boom, middle. If you play a damage, boom, top. If you play condition damage, boom, bottom. Or if it's something else, you know, like sustain or tankiness or some kind of style of play. They've kind of tried to make it a little bit more intuitive and obvious, I guess, but I don't know, sometimes when the traits are kind of all over the place, I feel like I'm doing a little bit more build craft, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes it look a lot simpler, which makes more sense for newer players as well, to be honest. You want to make things look easier and make it feel simpler. A lot of the intricacies come through, I feel a lot of the time, through the other core traits, through the core builds, like in the original game, for example. A lot of versatility and differences come through that, as well as just like, and then it does feel like a lot of the time release specialization is a little bit more easy to kind of see the synergy, and it's definitely changed over the years where the synergy is a little bit more obvious, but now it's really obvious. It's just like straight down the middle, boom. That could be seen as a bit boring, but I think it's good for players generally.
Starting off with the
So your first ability unlocks the Mech Command skill Explosive Knuckle. Your mech attacks now generate might for allies within a radius. This effect may only occur once per interval. So you get 1 might per second for 5 targets. So we now know that you're able to get a ton of might up. You know what? I might go. I'm thinking about builds right now. This isn't.
The F1 skill. F1 skill is actually still going to be a bit more damage, but it is going to have weakness instead of, we saw, you know, condition damage or just more damage.
There you go. So middle is now weakness. So it's applying like a supportive buff. Like weakness is good for you as well if you're damaged, but weakness is like a general support buff as well if you think about it, because you're applying a debuff to your target, which in many games like LDS Scrolls Online, you're applying vulnerability to your target and stuff like that as well. It's very common in like Final Fantasy 14 as well, as far as I remember.
Explosive Knuckle. It's going to have this nice little dash in, get some weakness.
That was kind of fun to watch. Let's have a look at that again.
And it's also going to come crashing down, and I wasn't close enough to my enemies, but it will come crashing option for the mech. Then finally, along the middle here, we're going to see more of that.
Messed up, I'm sorry.
More support option for the mech. Then finally, along the middle here, we're going to see more of that. F1 skill is actually still going to be a bit more damage, but it is going to have weakness instead of, we saw, you know, condition damage or more damage. Here we have.
Yeah. Ooh, did you see that damage? I think it's Zerka. That was 4K. The thing I like is it's doing damage, but it's doing the same damage to all targets. So it's AoE. Feels weird that it does the same damage to each target. I feel like I don't know if that's specifically good or soothing. Feels like the front target should always take the most. It just seems weird, but it's okay. I guess you can see the fist
up, we're gonna
that
have Crisis
looks
Zone.
like it's going
There's
through
going to
things
be
anyway. I like that
Self-punch
kind
from the
of
Mech, 'cause it doesn't really have
attack
too much-
chain as well. It's like got this kind of uppercut, which looks really cool. So Crisis Zone, your mech shrugs off conditions and
Condy
off
removal,
several
so
conditions from itself and grants boons to nearby allies. So don't forget that this mech is technically applying things like might and other boons and damage, and it is effectively you. If you think about the damage that you are doing in this build, you are only doing the damage that is coming from your weapon and obviously your kits if you go for kits. So it's going to be kit damage, and it's going to be main weapon, like, you know, a rifle maybe, or it's going to be your mace shield, or it's going to be your mace and pistol or pistol. Yeah, that's it. You know, it's not going to be in this build specifically. It would be all, if you ran this build, I don't think you would. You wouldn't. That's where your damage comes from. It's not coming from anything else. It's coming from your 2 weapons and your mech, which for an engineer player sounds absolutely weird because you don't have a weapon swap. But you do have. I feel like you should have a weapon swap in this, but it's okay. I don't know why I'm whispering that. But in this, I would be running one kit 100%. At the very least, I would be running toolkit. No, sorry. Elixir gun maybe for some condition removal and whatnot, because condition removal is going to be a problem, I think. Even if like the removes some conditions, I don't know if the conditions removed are for yourself. Your mech shrugs off several conditions. I think that's from itself. The wording is a little bit weird, but that's okay. But yeah, I would run definitely some kits, probably a kit if you want to be damaged. And depending on like if you're Condi, like if you're Condi, you could go for like a grenade kit, and then you could go for like fire explosives or whatever. Sorry. And then go for the top line along the traits and go for just full-on Condi damage. And you could go for Condi damage was ranged, right? Oh no, it wasn't. It was kind of a mixture of the two.
A little bit of kind of.
Oh yeah, 53, 34. Let me just double check.
It is regen prot and alacrity, of course.
Yeah, no, it was mostly range. So like mostly.
And finally, coming out from the Grandmaster.
Oh no, it was both. It was like one ability was close range, another one was Jade Mortar, which was the 3 stacks of burning, which was a long range mortar attack. Discharge array was cycle energy into your mech's armor to turn it into a lightning rod. Jade energy strikes nearby foes and nearby, yeah. And then the other one was very melee. So it was okay. Actually, those abilities they do get 100% expertise inherited by the mech from you and condition damage. So a lot of these traits up the top specifically, so this one for example, which is called Discharge Array, your mech gains 100% of your condition damage and your expertise. So you're sharing like the extra damage. So you going for Condi damage as well is going to be beneficial, because I can imagine if you can get a lot of these abilities off, you're going to be piling on the Condi. And I'm thinking about this firearms trait where you get the burning on crit pretty heavily right now. And I'm also just thinking about flamethrower and just going up for Juggernaut and just going for like permanent stability. And you have got permanent stability while you're running around and might and everything else. I'm wondering if you can share all of this. I'm getting loads of ideas in my head at the same time. It's really bad, but my thought process is just awesome during this. I'm loving it.
Like a channeled ability, some nice pulsing barrier.
Oh, we're on the support build. Sorry. Crisis Zone shrugs off some conditions and then pulse a barrier and boons to nearby allies. That ability.
A lot of might, a lot of fury, a lot of vigor.
Damn. Okay. Did you see that as well?
We have Crisis Zone. This is going to be for the mech, because it doesn't really have too much Condi removal. So a little bit of Condi cleanse there, but also some very good boons.
Yeah, so and as well, let's see how long the ability is. 40-second cooldown. So you get 5 3/4 seconds of alacrity. You get protection, aegis, and regen. So alacrity is obviously very good. Condition removal. Well, the alacrity is cool, I guess.
Regen prot and alacrity, of course, is one of the premier boons that you're going to be looking for. And finally, coming out from the Grandmaster slot, we're going to have Barrier Burst, and it's going to be more of like a channeled ability, some nice pull.
I like that. That's a big range as well. And that's a pulsing barrier. So pulse a barrier and boons to nearby allies, sorry. You get 3 stacks of might. You get fury and you get vigor as well, which is kind of nice. Unlocks the mech command's skill barrier burst. While in combat, your mech will automatically grant small barrier. Each interval barrier. Okay. Much else there. Just wondering about the minor traits there as well. So the first minor, rocket punch, your mech launches an explosive fist that detonates on hit to briefly daze enemies in an area. Toughness and vitality inherited by the mech 50%. So 50% of your own stats. There is a alacrity. Let's have a look. So wait a minute. It gains 100% of your concentration and healing power with alacrity. 5 3/4 seconds of alacrity. It's quite a lot. I'm wondering how far you can get that, push that with stats. How long you could push out that alacrity for. I'm not a PvE master. I mean, PvP, it's going to be nerfed anyway. I mean, there's no point in me talking about numbers. Then Jade Siphon is the other adept. That is... The mech connects to the target with a draining beam of energy, weakening and damaging the target while gaining might. It's nice. I really want to just have it here and go through the stuff, and I will.
A lot of might, a lot of fury, a lot of vigor, and some more alacrity. That's actually coming from another trait that we'll talk about as well.
Okay.
But there's kind of like the support kit of the mech. And obviously you can kind of mix and match these as you choose, depending on what you're looking for. Maybe for your support mech, you want a little bit more crowd control, so you go take, core reactor shot instead. So
there is those abilities. There is the blatant like support line, but like you said, if you want more CC, that's the form of support.
It's very much like a ranger pet. It does kind of, it exists in the world. If it dies, it will go away. Obviously there's only one of them. There's no really pet swap.
So good. Did you see that?
On death.
Did you see that animation? Oh my god. So good.
So, and obviously these numbers are still things that we're going to be looking at and tuning to figure out kind of what the right cooldown for the mech is, but we didn't want it to be always accessible like with ranger pets. We wanted to create kind of the difference. What does the mech pet character look like as opposed to the ranger, instead of just making it, a ranger or a better ranger? We wanted to kind of have the difference there.
The thing about that comment is that what if you don't have your mech out and it dies and it hits that 100-second cooldown, 90-second cooldown, whatever it is, like, what do you do then? Like, if a ranger's pet dies, they swap pets, and they just get regen. What do you do if you're an engineer? You're kind of screwed for 100 seconds, and in the PvP game, 100 seconds is a long time. And I know you get that mech out a lot, and I don't think that a mech is going to be killed often. Imagine that in a raid, though. You'd have to defend it. I feel like it would be fine. It's very interesting, though. It's going to be a completely different style of gameplay. I love Scrapper, pardon me, so much, and Hollow-Smith is completely different to this.
So we'll talk.
I'm excited.
Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about with the mech.
Here we go. Mace Strike. So this is the Mace abilities. So this is a chain. 2 damage. Smash your target with a heavy blow from the mace, inflicting confusion. And smash your mace with a finely heavy strike, inflicting additional confusion. You, your mech, and allies gain barrier. That's pretty cool. So this, again, I talked about this on the podcast, and I was talking about the fact that it feels very much like your that you are defending your mech as it does damage, and this is like, you know, you being consistent in your damage on the enemy or someone or an ally or some enemy nearby at the very least, so you're in range of your mech to protect it. Like, you're protecting this, your bot, like this thing you constructed. The traits, I feel very much like this inputting of data. I said this on the podcast as well, to like program your mech. It feels very like role play. It feels really like I'm an engineer. It's fucking cool. It's so good. And I'm loving this energy, the energy of this class, and just everything. It's just so fun. And like, yeah, I'm getting keen. But like giving barrier rate is 240, so you do have to be quite close. Confusion stacks keep going. Barrier 5 targets as well. So the possibility of you being able to put out a ton of barriers to you and your allies is quite nice. PvE specifically as well. This could be quite good.
On the trait side, once we get there, but we'll move into the Mace skills. So the Mace, it's kind of this
See how much
a little
barrier
bit of a
it is.
hybrid. There's a very small amount of support stuff going on here, but there's also some pretty good Condi damage. So here we see the auto attack, confusion, and then some AoE barrier on the third hit.
It's basically it. 5 stacks of vulnerability. You get vigor as well, which is good. It's a combo finisher leap. It looks a lot like the Mace skill from Revenant, I think. Leap forward, smash the ground, inflicting vulnerabilities to your foes while granting vigor to allies. The damage is actually quite nice as well.
Do we have energizing slam?
Does it look like the
mobility?
See, that looks like the sword ability for elementalist as well. So there's an animation copy there, which happens a lot in Guild Wars 2, which is absolutely fine. There's no reason why you can't do that.
Jump in, apply some vuln, deal some damage, get some vigor. Solid skill.
So that is a solid skill. And then you've got launch a fist that explodes on the first target hit, damaging and stunning nearby enemies. You get a little bit better, you get stun. It's a projectile combo finisher, and it looks rad. It's 12-second cooldown. Watch.
And finally, we have Rocket Fist prototype. Here's a little bit of a ranged projectile attack. Get some more burning in there. Get a very short stun, and then also just some solid damage. Of course, always have to deal some damage with these skills.
That looks cool, right? Let's have a look a little bit again. 12 seconds. I'm gonna slow it down because I'm super keen.
Support stuff going on here, but there's also some pretty good.
I'm gonna pause it when he gets the second ability. Sorry about my neighbor. They are massively loud for some reason. All right, there we go. 6-second cooldown. What? Really? That's pretty good. I've been able to get 5 3/4 seconds of vigor from an ability which gives you 6 seconds cooldown. That's got to be increased in PvP. That's pretty good. That's like permanent vigor uptime. That's pretty damn awesome, actually. Like, and then 5 stacks of vulnerability. You can always stack that vulnerability. Jesus Christ, what are they doing up there? And the leap as well. And 5 stacks of that's quite a lot. So it feels like, again, and you grant vigor to yourself and allies, so it's going to give it to the bot, I guess. Not sure it needs vigor, unless, like, you know, that encourages it to get something other trigger through traits, which is going to be interesting to think about in terms of do a lot of other traits affect your mech? I don't think so. Out of this trait line, of course, of Mechanist. This is actually going to be a really good skill. This is a very good skill. I think they'll increase that cooldown. I think they'll increase that cooldown in PvP and multi-world. I don't. Maybe you have to hit targets to get the vigor. I'm not too sure as well.
Skill 2, we have energizing slam. Here's a little bit of mobility. Jump in, apply some vuln, deal some damage, get some vigor. Solid skill. And finally, we have Rocket Fist prototype. Here's a little bit of a ranged projectile attack. Get some more burning in there.
Beautiful. I love that look at that.
Short stun, and
then he's got pistol offhand, which doesn't matter.
Of course, always have.
I mean, it does matter, but like, I'd go shield.
And finally, we'll talk.
And like the thing with shield on this is that you could really do well with things like blocking. Like, you know, if you put your shield up and you can guard your mech, for example, reflect projectiles away from your pet, you know, do many different things to help it, as well as, like, you know, blocking a lich that maybe want to take it down. I think a lich in PvP would be a good counter to the mech, and I think they've already thought about these big damage classes being able to burst it down without much defense, because we're going to see a bubble coming up soon on the Signets, which is quite interesting.
About the utility skills. So most importantly, Engineer finally has access to Signets and is now an exclusive member of the 5 Signet Club, because only, you know, a handful some solid damage.
The 5 Signet Club. I wonder how long he was waiting to say that. Amazing. Let's get onto this heal skill first. Heal yourself and your mech every second, and then heal yourself and your mech when you use it for 6,500, which is not much for the mech, and it's not much for you. Think about the 21k HP.
Finally, we'll talk about
if he's using.
So most importantly,
Berserker.
Engineer finally has access to Signets and is now an exclusive member of the 5 Signet Club, because only, you know, a handful of classes
is there
to both a heal Signet and an elite Signet, while also having all Signets. So now you can roleplay as your 5 Signet Warrior, but now you're an Engineer, and it turns out you also have a cool mech pack, so it's even cooler than 5 Signet Warrior. But we'll just run through these real quick.
It's even cooler than 5 Signet Warrior.
Obviously, Signets have a passive and an active component. Here's the heal Signet. It's kind of like a heal Signet. It heals heal pulse, and then active heals. This is obviously for both you and your mech. Important to kind of give a little bit of sustain for the mech, so it doesn't just fall over with.
Yeah, it's important. Barrier Signet. So incoming strike and condition damage is reduced. That's nice. And then when you activate, you create a projectile blocking dome around yourself. You and allies inside the dome gain barrier every second. And if your mech is active, the dome is centered on it. Sorry, wait, what? If your mech is active, the dome is centered on it and is larger. Oh, so you can activate this without the mech. That's important and awesome. Blocked projectiles, 5 pulses of barrier. So you get 2,500 barrier. A big burst of barrier. That's a lot, actually. It's not bad. That's not that much. If you think about using that skill and then one of the other barrier skills, and then your auto attacking, you're actually going to be able to get quite a lot of barrier. So you could do a lot of a good. You could do a support build with this, but you don't have quickness, which kind of sucks. So it doesn't really. I'm not seeing at the moment. I'm not 100% seeing the support in raids, but there is alacrity, and I think people are saying you can get your alacrity up pretty high.
Access to any amount of healing, and then again, nothing too crazy. It's a healing Signet. Next up, we have Barrier Signet. Here's some damage reduction on the passive, and this is also going to create a projectile.
I love this. The whole Jade mech tech theme of this, like, mech, this mech that you have, sorry for saying mech a million times, is very, very cool. I love the dome. I love the effect of it. It looks different from a dome. It's green. It's like very themed. It looks awesome.
Hate dome. So there's a couple of these Signets that interact with the mech. In this case, it creates the dome around the mech. If the mech is not active, it'll just create the dome around myself.
I apologize. It's
you
my
also
neighbor
see
is.
we're getting a little bit barrier in there as well. Next up, we have Force Signet. Here's a stun break.
Okay, so wait a minute, go back.
Useful. This is also going to create kind of a knockback region around either yourself or your mech.
Damn it! It went so fast. This was just a quick look. Okay.
Barrier in there as well.
All right, stop. Increase power. Knock foes away from yourself and away from your mech. That's cool. So it also does a cripple. So it doesn't knock back of 240. It does a cripple and it's a break stun. 24 seconds. The thing is, in this, like, I can see this being really, really useful. I can see you having a lot of breaks. Like, you want, don't forget, like, our stun breaks that you get from running like an elixir. Sorry, you get the elixir gun here. That was gross. And then the tool belt here. You won't be able to use that. So it would just be the kit, right? I'm assuming you can use other utilities while you're doing. You must be able to. It's just not going to have the tool belt bar.
Next up, we have Force Signet. Here's a
Yeah.
thumb break, always useful. This is also going to create kind of a
Looks
knockback
nice.
region around either
Got that big
yourself or
theme.
your mech. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy. As well.
Cal
Next up, we
selling
have
it.
Shift Signet. Here's the shadow step that, again, we kind of spoiled a little bit. Both you and your mech will teleport to the targeted area. And that guy's, sometimes the mech is, you know, doing its own thing. It doesn't want to teleport. It wants to use its cool jets and kind of fly over here instead.
Wouldn't
Show
you?
off.
But a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of the time it will, you know, teleport with you.
Okay, so that is the big teleport / shadow step. Was that actually like a... Let's actually pause this for a second. And then there's the superconducting signet. So increases condition damage. Nice. Yeah, it should be. They need to have one of those. And then when it's active, it creates a damaging field around you that applies conditions to nearby foes. If your mech is active, the field instead radiates from the radiates and follows the mech. Interesting. 6 stacks of confusion and also vulnerability. Does it apply 6 stacks every interval? Interesting. Let's have a look.
Finally, we have superconducting signet. Here's a condition damage buff, and it's also going to be kind of this AoE condition field. Here's some here's some vuln, here's some confusion.
Just
Again,
refreshing
around
it.
the mech if it's active, otherwise it's going to be around yourself.
That's actually pretty cool.
And then finally we have overclock signet. The passive here is that your other signet recharges are going to be reduced, so a little bit of value for press.
That's interesting, isn't it? So like the actual, rather than putting it, because they're like, you know, we can't fit this into the traits. Where are we going to put it? We'll put it into the last trait, and the actual passive will be a recharge on your other signets is reduced while you've got this passive. And then if you use it, order your mech to fire its ultimate weapon, the Jade Buster Cannon. If your mech is not present, instead your mech is summoned, even if Crashdown is on cooldown. That's pretty cool. 90 seconds, so you can instantly get it back, and then 90 seconds. Actually, that's pretty rad.
Those. Alternatively, you can activate it to command your mech to use the Jade Buster Cannon. Super cool beam attack. Get some burning in there. Obviously, a lot of damage. Just a nice little. Actually, got stuck in the animation. That's hilarious.
Looks fun.
I've seen that before. Cool. But yeah, you know, big elite skill, mech attack, super cool. And also, if the mech is not active, it will also just summon your mech. We don't actually need to show that right now. So then coming back to the traits. Just going to run through these real quick. Obviously, they have like a secondary effect in addition to kind of defining what your mech skills are. So starting across the top, we're going to see that kind of condition damage build coming out, where your mech is going to apply bleeding on hit, and well, that's pretty much it. I guess we should probably start with the minors. I always forget every single time. It's always like, maybe we should start with the minor traits. Probably a good idea. So one unique aspect that we're going to see on a lot of these traits is that the mech inherits stats from the engineer. Or from the Mechanist, rather. So if I build Berserker gear, I'm going to give more power, precision, ferocity to my mech. So that's kind of a cool disconnect from Ranger pets, where they're kind of always, Ranger pets are always have their predefined stats, whereas the mech, you're going to say, okay, I'm building Berserker, super aggressive, my mech is also super aggressive. But if I build something like Minstrel, super defensive, then my mech's going to also be super defensive. So we're going to see...
That's interesting, because then if you're on a point, and you're trying to, and the enemy, it's like literally having 2 of you essentially. Like, I mean, well, not in terms of survivability, like toughness and vitality, or even damage. Sorry, that's very interesting. Like, try not 2 of you in terms of capping the point, but like actually having to, when you spread that damage out, or when you, I don't know. It's interesting. Like you could be really tanky, but then you can't. If you want your mech to be offensive, you have to build yourself offensively as well. Although you can have condition damage up here, but in PvE you could go for like more supportive kind of Plague Doctor-y kind of stuff, or you could go for in PvP. I guess you go Avatar. The condition version. It's going to be very interesting.
Being inherited by the minor traits here. These also define those kind of baseline skills that we saw the mech using. Then we talked about this one a little bit.
We're already going through this.
Already bleeding on hit. Next up is conductive alloys. This is going to be condition damage and expertise inherited by the mech. Again, here's your condition build for the mech. And finally, we have Jade Dynamo. This is kind of a 2-part thing. This is super powerful trait here because it's actually going to allow your mech to inherit from the explosives trait line. There's obviously a lot going on here, so we'll save that for the latter half of the show.
Might go forward to that in a sec as well.
Just a kind of solid value trait. Mech's going to do explosions and attacks, and if your mech is not active, it'll do a little supporty area strike. So as we go across the middle, we're going to see again, instead of the bleeding on hit, we're going to do AoE might, so again, more of that boon support. And then the frame in the center is going to be inheriting concentration and healing power. Again, support, support, support. Also giving alacrity whenever you apply barrier. So a lot more.
Wait, what? I missed that. Did I miss that before?
So one disconnect from ranger pets where they're kind of always.
Ah, god damn it. Okay.
More power, precision, ferocity to my mech. So that's kind of a cool disconnect from ranger pets. Where
Wait, did we go way too far?
The mech using.
Yeah, we did.
Just
We went way too far back, everyone. I'm
solid-
blaming all of you.
The bleeding on hit, we're going to do AoE might, so again, more of that boon support.
Okay, so unlocks the mech command skill Crisis Zone. When you and your mech apply barrier, also grant alacrity. Ah, that's the thing I missed. I bet you're probably going, Jebro, what are you talking about? You can get out when you do this. I told you I missed something. Forgot about this. It's late. When you or your mech apply barrier, so don't forget you can grant barrier through a Signet, you can grant barrier through the first ability on your Mace, you can grant barrier on one of the skills here, the second one on the support obviously. So when you're running support for raids or fractals or whatever, you're going to run this skill because you want to run alacrity to get more skill recharge. And you're going to be using your first skill a lot, and you're going to be using your mech. So this is actually going to be quite a fun support build. You're spamming so much. I mean, you're spamming the same kind of stuff I guess you would do every so often. As you grant barrier, now your mech gains a greater percentage of your own concentration and healing stats when you or your mech apply a barrier. So elixir, you could run elixirs in this, which is what he has. Let's just quickly go to some of the traits. Elixir Guilders 2. I know I say it weirdly. But on use, it's not on use. Where is it? Elixir traits. Alchemy, sorry. Elixir. I was thinking about with throne, like, and stuff like that. Let's have a look. There we go. Okay, so you do grant barrier on usage. Where is it? I think I've actually just made this up completely out of my own head. I thought you gained barrier through elixir traits. Which one was it? Protection injection, gain protection and when you're disabled, incoming. Oh, maybe it's not. Lesser elixir B. I thought there was I may have just completely reinvented this in my head. You're gonna want to run this anyway. But you're gonna want to run alchemy. It doesn't matter in the support build for sure. You get more concentration. You'll probably run that. And you'll probably run maybe even explosives actually to see about that big healing, which we might go into in a bit. Again, I think I'm being a bit tired this evening.
And then the frame in the center is going to be inheriting concentration and healing power. Again, support, support, support. Also giving alacrity whenever you apply barrier. So a lot more alacrity potential there as well.
Let me just look this up while we're looking.
And finally, the Grandmaster slot here is going to have obviously.
Oh yeah, that F3 skill as well. You're gonna use that, and it's just gonna pulse out barrier, and it's gonna pulse out alacrity as well.
But it's also going to have your mech do a pulsing AoE barrier on kind of an interval. That's also going to give you alacrity if you have the channeling conduits. And finally, across the bottom.
Oh, this is the one. Sorry, I was thinking about Scrapper. And also, oh no, sorry, yeah, explosive entrance. Yes, that's where it is. So you're gonna want to run alchemy, the bottom line, obviously the mech, and you're gonna run explosive line, because in the explosive line there is blast shield, which means that explosive entrance grants barrier, and you gain vitality based on the percentage of your power. But blast shield is a master trait and is very good. Oh, that's going to be cool. So you're going to be, so the vigor on the second base skill is going to be used a lot. And when you gain vigor, you're going to be able to dodge more which is going to give you more explosive entrance. And explosive entrance is your first attack explodes, dealing extra damage to nearby enemies, and you gain that after you dodge, pretty much. Let me just have a look at explosive entrance. So let me have a look at explosives. It's painful. So basically what explosive entrance is, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go through the whole thing so you understand what I'm talking about. So in explosive lines, so your first attack when entering combat explodes, dealing damage to nearby foes. The ability refreshes after a dodge roll. To gain dodge, you have to have vigor, or you have to have, like, you know, skills which increase your dodge bars. So tools is pretty good for this, for example, which helps to actually give you more energy regen. So it's either vigor or energy regen through like traits. Then as you go further down, there are other traits which give you, so you can gain fury when you hit a foe with an explosion. There are explosions on this line with Mech. Explosions grant stacking ferocity. Explosive entrance grants barrier. So when you get the explosive entrance after having vigor or energy recharge on your traits or whatever, and you're gaining back barrier, energy to dodge, you are going to be able to put out a ton of barrier, because you will just literally be attacking and dodging. So you attack, you dodge, you attack, you dodge, you put out barrier. The barrier you're putting out gets converted, or gets not converted, it triggers your Mech to put out alacrity. So when you want to get alacrity, so if you're in a raid, you're going to be dodging a lot, you're going to be attacking a lot with you're going to be attacking, you're going to be dodging, you're going to be applying barrier with explosive entrance, and you're going to be dodging again, and in turn that's all going to produce alacrity. And it's going to be interesting to see engineers and how they really put this out, because you're just going to be dodging all the time, and as part of your rotation to pump out barrier. Also, you're going to be using the F3, and because that is the use of a skill and you're not going to have to actually do it, it's a cast, I believe. I'd have to go back over to it. You'd be pressing that, you'd be using your Mace skills, you'd be dodging, you'd be doing loads of stuff in conjunction. Like, it's gonna be, like, thinking about it, like, I'm excited. First build I'm gonna try, probably in a support role, it's gonna be explosives, it's gonna be this, and it's probably gonna be alchemy or something else, which is good for barrier. We'll see. But then on the Grandmaster line for explosives, there's a trait called Big Boomer. And it says, deal increased strike damage to foes with a lower health percentage than you. Hitting with an explosion heals you over a few seconds. I'm wondering about this. It says heals you. I wonder if it heals your Mech as well, because it's linked to the explosions line. I'm wondering what he's going to say about this.
Power damage and crowd control. So here we have Volnon.
I told you I'm excited. I told you this video is going to be long. It's almost an hour.
So bleeding instead of light, we did
Oh my God.
And kind of the same vein, we have here's the stat inheritance trait on the master tier, power, precision, ferocity, all inherited by your Mech in good quantities.
Sorry. I'll put chapters
and finally,
in.
we're going to have access to Mech Core J Drive, which is going to be kind of the Signet bonus trait here, which is Signet passives are better. They're also going to maintain that Signet passive while they're on cooldown.
Oh, that's another big thing. Yeah, going for that bottom trait. The Signets are on. You're just going to have the passive when you've used them. So you're going to gain that increased power, increased condi, etc., which is pretty cool.
And this is also going to have a bonus effect where the Mech will do stuff when it's not active on the field. So a lot more to talk about.
That is very cool.
Super high-level speedrun, as with everything.
It kind of does these blasts from the air, so your Mech is very alive in the world. Like if it's not down with you. It's only, it's only when it's not off on cooldown here. When this is ticking down, you're not going to get this effect from above. But then the Mech is like shooting down like projectiles. It's very, so roleplay. Love it.
I just want to make sure we are very clear that the excessive rambling from Cal is very welcome.
Yeah, it is. It is very welcome. Let's not talk about the untamed thing, whatever that is.
A lot more. Maybe we'll talk about it during Extra Life.
And their giant jade robot.
Yes, the Mechanist.
Right.
So we're back here with the Mechanist.
So what's he going to show us now?
About the Mechanist?
This is additional stuff now.
The Mech is obviously really awesome. We saw a lot of kind of ways to define your playstyle with the Mech. That's something we really wanted to make sure existed with this character, because you look at the Mech versus a Ranger pet, and there's only one. you will always have this mech. You cannot take the MOA to get heals, even though no one takes the MOA. I already made a joke about that, so it's not funny anymore. But
No.
you can't go for like the more super glass cannon stuff with like birds versus the dogs, which are a bit more of that mid-rangey DPS, a little bit of CC, or like smoke scale, gazelle, yada yada yada. There's a wide swath of kind of identities between ranger pets, whereas the mech is the mech. So we needed to make sure that it still had kind of these different identities available to it. So we have like the condition damage, we have the power damage, and we have, you know, that crowd control, and then a lot more of the supporty stuff along the middle, where you can really define how this mech exists.
He's thinking. The thoughts.
Interesting thing that people probably notice,
processes.
this mech has a break bar. This is actually something we've never done
This is something I mentioned earlier, the
before
break
on
bar.
player
Yeah.
skill. The closest thing that we've done with that is like banners in World v World, but those are more game mode objective mechanics. Never on a professional.
This thing he's talking about elsewhere.
And more long. That was not the skill I wanted. I was looking for this. But you see kind of like these longer
Change to
like, channel
explosives up here.
abilities, or these longer cast times. Much more easier to disrupt the mech just through normal gameplay. The ability for creatures to kind of hose the mech and interrupt it, prevent it from actually doing what we want it to do, really created this kind of concept of, well, what if it had a break bar? It's not something we've ever done before. Is that actually a good idea? Also, PvP actually did really
There's
well,
still very much in
and I
the
think it's
process of
something we'll want to keep.
not sure, and it
moving
sounds like
forward.
if it doesn't work, they're going to
Did
just
leave
take it
in
away.
for
We'll
the
see what it's
beta
like.
to see how this plays in PvP and World v World, but we're definitely open to any amount of changes to this. Like, the extreme case is the break bar just doesn't exist in PvP. In World v World, there's just no break bar, and that is completely on the table because it's very much this unique mechanic that kind of it very much changes how crowd control interacts with the mech, right? Like, instead of my quarter-second daze being a quarter-second daze, that's just an interrupt value, it's going to instead play against this break bars, which is a much different play style. We're not particularly sure if it's a healthy play style for those competitive modes again, but we want to try it out, see how it goes. And worst case, we just rip
I think
it
it'd be
out,
cool to
leave it
be
in
able
PvP.
to like
But
CC
it is
it,
kind of
but
interesting
probably
because, you
better
know,
to kill it.
stuff like
Yeah.
chill is going to be damaging against this break
That's a
bar.
lot of damage
And
using on a
You
mech.
can see here the break skill here is a 5-second stun. So whenever the mech gets broken, it will end up stunned for 5 seconds, which is again a pretty long time.
That thing is
What was I
so
gonna say
cool.
here? Oh yeah, this isn't really interesting, or I guess I think it's interesting. It's not super valuable in actual gameplay,
Yeah.
but when you're casting Crash Down,
Listen,
the mech actually spawns in instantly, and you can just interrupt the cast and save some cast time there. Don't tell the designers who are probably watching the stream, so it's too late, because they'll probably fix that. But you can kind of sidestep the cast time at the cost of you're not going to actually get the knockback, which is kind of interesting. The mech doesn't actually do the knockback; it's the Mechanist themselves. Very
Ah.
interesting.
I like how he's telling his
Stuff
little
like that, I
cheats
would
already
assume.
before we've even gotten the
I'm
ability
gonna
to
dismiss
use
the mech
this.
again because we have kind of this passive attack to show off, which we didn't show too much of.
Yeah, the passive
The
attacks
Cortez
from.
drive, one of the
Ooh.
bonus. This is obviously the Signet trait, but also while the mech is kind of AFK, it's going to periodically do this. Did over there this time.
There you go.
Engineer. Close the trait window so we can see the whole battlefield. You see, periodically we're going to see this kind of AoE damage attack, kind of like Orbital Strike, but a little bit different, where it's going to come down and hit enemies. So a little bit of value when the mech is not spawned, because obviously the mech has a pretty long cooldown. You can resummon the mech with Overclock Signet, but you probably want to.
Although actually, maybe
for the
maybe when it's even on cooldown as well, because we haven't seen that happen because of like the it says while the mech is not active. Okay, so maybe that is actually permanently out then while it's repairing itself while it's away. That's pretty
This
cool
actually
then.
allows your mech to inherit from the explosives trait line.
Ah,
So
here we
are
go.
those on-hit traits.
This is what I want to
do
listen
stuff
to.
on explosions. Well, now your mech also has access to these. So we're going to see the mech is getting, there's Big Boomer. We're already getting Explosive Temper. We're going to get Short Fuse, Shrapnel. You see, like, all these things are now applying to the mech in addition to the Mechanist, which is kind of this really, really interesting. I say interesting, but it's actually just really powerful because you're essentially doubling up on all these things. The
Yeah.
mech is hitting getting these value. You, the Mechanist, are hitting enemies, getting these value. So super powerful trait. Even if you aren't looking for that Connie damage roll, this is still, when you get the daze on Jade Mortar, the burning is not as relevant, but the damage is still good. And then just the
yeah, Game Fury, like exactly like I was saying. So it's exactly what I said, but like I asked that question, and yes, it does affect the actual mech. This is fantastic, but it does mean if you go for that trade line, you're probably going to want to go with explosives, but explosive can be fairly defensive as well.
extra value of getting all of these.
I wouldn't run that middle line. I would run, like I said, I wouldn't never run explosions grant stacking ferocity when they hit. If you want to run a full damage build, I'd run blast shield, so explosive entrance grants barrier, so you can get alacrity potentially. If you're in a supportive role, if you're in a damage role, then probably not.
Potentially,
Maybe.
aim assisted rocket works too. That one takes a little bit to charge up, so we won't show off here. But like all these on-hit traits actually give value to the mech as well, which just creates a really interesting explosive Mechanist build already kind of starting to form as you guys theory craft things.
That's pretty rad.
Interesting note with static discharge. Obviously, these are all replacing your tool belt skills. All the tool belt traits will function properly with the mech attacks.
That's cool.
But static discharge in particular is actually going to fire from the mech.
Oh, that's very cool. I missed that actually during the stream.
Combat only.
Yeah, I saw that.
With one of the skills. No, there we go. Static discharge fire from the mech. That's again just kind of a cool nuance to how the
Because it looks like the
mech
stack
kind of plays with the engineer traits. And
yeah, static discharge actually comes out. So static discharge is basically a skill, an electrical bolt which does damage. Comes out from you when you use tool belt skills, so you chain them together to pull out burst damage. So you can do it from the mech, and it actually puts out the static discharge damage.
You can name your mech.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Yes.
An important question.
If you want to rename the mech, it's right here. Right-click on the F4, and you can name this. Well, obviously, if you're a PvP player, you name it the same as your character because that creates the maximum amount of confusion with nameplates. So here we go. Now I have the mech, which is also called CMC Beta, as this character, completely throwing off all of my opponents. But yeah, you can rename the mech for sure. So I expect to see a lot of flavorful mech names running around in the world once we get into beta, and obviously as we move forward to launch as well.
Exciting.
Honestly, I don't have too much more to deep dive into the mech because like all of the mech mechanics are kind of built into the traits. Like it's very well defined in how you interact with this character. So we already kind of talked about everything, and like there's going to be interesting to see which builds do people like the Connie build more, the power build more, support build more, what trait lines you take and what skills are you taking. Like all these things are obviously interesting across all the specializations. But the Mechanist we did talk about pretty much all there is to it, and of course 5 Signet Engineer, hopefully the new meta, but most likely unfortunately not.
No,
we will kind of wrap
it's not going to be the new
here,
meta, my friend.
and
I'm sorry.
we'll toss it back to Ruby again for the second wrap-up of the show because we are pretty much done here.
Okay, that is actually awesome. So I'm going to chuck in that footage
like
behind.
those-
I will have that muted, and it will be while I have a little bit of an exit myself. So yes, I have warned you many times, ominous music, that I would make a lot of videos about this, and I would make sorry, that's the crap class. I mean, sorry, no. I'm not massively keen on the Ranger, so we'll skip past that. But this has just been me live talking about the engineer and about all things, because there is going to be a lot of videos of this over the next week. I will be just making content and throwing it on YouTube. I really have no time to edit anymore. Like literally, like I just started internship, and again, if you do want to support the channel, it's massively appreciated. I don't get paid for an internship. I'm a mental health counselor helping the community here in Seattle and Washington. So if you want to hit the thanks below and tip like someone else did the other day, which was beautifully all very, very awesome and very much appreciated. If you want to subscribe, follow, hit a like, comment, it helps the algorithm, helps the video get out there. If you enjoy in-depth engineer discussion, concerns, excitement, reactions of my face when I'm like, whoa, that's awesome, and then the figuring out and going through the traits and just working with me rather than someone who's always scripting, always working out these videos where it's just like bang out in 10 minutes, and you want to watch someone who's just literally working it out with you, and we're kind of talking about this thing and we're working it out as we go. That's the way I like to do things. I don't have time to edit, don't have time to do these things, but I have time to sit here for an hour and sit down. It might sound weird, but it takes a lot longer to edit and do all that kind of stuff. So if you did enjoy this video, like, comment, subscribe, check out all the other stuff. I'm going to be streaming Guild Wars 2 during the beta, not every day, but I will stream on release day as much as I possibly can. It's going to be very difficult to do that because it's one of my main internship days as well. So I will try and stream a little bit, and then I'll come back to it in the evening probably and give it another bash for a while. I'm very excited for the beta preview week. I'm going to play this in raids. I'm going to play in PvP. Obviously, I'm going to play in World v World. We're going to go and do some roaming. So if you have any ideas for runes, if you have any ideas for sigils, food, anything that I may need to stack and couple up with in my bank so that I can get that copy of the bank on beta and I can shift it onto this character, let me know and I can start getting that together while we come up with ideas of what we're going to build. Like, what do you want me to build? What would you want to see? Do you want to see like support? Do you want to see full-on condi damage, power damage? Like, what do you want out of this? The content's going to come up from Tuesday until Saturday because that's when the beta is. Otherwise, I've been Jebro. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Get some self-care in. Don't work too hard. Work hard, obviously, but take breaks and take care of yourself. Eat some food, have a bath, have a shower, watch some TV, spend some time with loved ones, tell some people your problems as well, get that shit off your chest, journal, do all the things, but look after yourself, okay? You work hard, I know you do, no matter what you're doing out there. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out all the things. See you soon, peeps. And we're well in it now. It's the Mechanist, peeps. Excited.